Hello, friends. We are very pleased to have Dr. Shekhar Algundgi with us today. His name doesn't need any introduction. He's one of the biggest proponents of sensation method of homeopathy. He's a very renowned teacher, a very good clinician, and an excellent teacher. So, Dr. Shekhar, very warm welcome to hpathy.com.
Thank you.
And many congratulations on your new book, Case Taking, The Art of Connection, Communication, and Conversation, the copy of which I have with me today. So today we are going to speak about your new book, the reasons behind it, the journey through it. But before that, I would like to understand, or I would like you to share your personal journey with our audience. What has been your journey like from the very beginning? Even before you came to homeopathy, did you always envision to become a doctor?
See, basically, I come from a doctor's family. We have got 13 doctors in the entire family.
Okay.
And so my father, the place where I'm practicing right now here is my father's clinic only. And we did not have any other vision apart from doctor, because right from childhood that medicine, and, father's friends and all those used to come, they're all doctors. So the idea of medicine has been drilled and inculcated right from the childhood only. When I finished in the year 1990, when I finished my BHMS, I joined in over here at the government homeopathic hospital in Idla. And I came across Dr. Shankaran over there. So I used to finish the OPD of the government hospital and used to join his consulting room, because there were a lot of students in his OPD. So very much interested in knowing what is happening over here. And since then, the journey began associated with him, with all the Bombay workshop and the Friday clubs and all those things. And slowly, gradually, I got involved into this method, basically because of my inquisitive nature right from childhood. That's a natural instinct that I've got. And so this entire journey started with him. And Sudhir was my classmate and childhood friends, because his father and my father are very close friends with each other. And he was also associated with Shankaran sir. So all that journey began over there. We used to sit together and study, and all the understanding of the remedies and all that thing. That's how the entire journey began for me.
So I have seen many of your cases in your seminars, and I often say, Dr. Sankaran, that the one person whose cases I find the most authentic to sensation method, apart from his own, are yours. So I would like to know, when you are trained in a very conventional method, and I believe when you started studying with Dr. Sankaran, you were still at the delusion level.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So that delusion level was still very close to what classical homeopathy does. It's very close. Till that time, there was no kingdom classification, no miasms, no proper sensation method, no 7 levels, and it's easy to associate with his work at that level. Okay, this is just one more addition, one more level. But what was your experience, considering the kind of education that we receive in our homeopathic colleges and the kind of work he does? What was your initial experience with him?
See, basically, I'll tell you, in my BHMS at Kolhapur, we had a small group with Sudhir and Swanand Umredkar and Prasad Kirkar and all these people who had a very good understanding as far as homeopathic subjects were concerned. And so, therefore, we would discuss a lot of cases in the sense of remedies and all that thing. And when I came to Bombay over here, the work of delusion was already going on with Dr. Shankaran. And it was so fascinating that things started clicking at that initial phase. Why so many remedies under one delusion? What could be the difference between each remedy having the similar delusions? So that all started to click from there on. And the curiosity was how he would really approach towards every cases, minutely observing every step. And I remember noting down the questions that he would ask. More than the patient's answer, I would be very curious in seeing what type of question, how is he really probing into the cases? What is his thought process running behind every question that he's asking? And that was the only way how this book has come up for me, because the idea of questioning pattern that is there is very, very essential. And therefore, the P formula that I suggested is all because of many of them send their cases even today also, but they do not know why they asked. They feel, oh, I just felt like asking, so I asked this question, but that doesn't have any answer to it. And therefore, that is the main hindrance why patients are not opening up. So during that time when the delusion work was going on, the most interesting part was to understand each remedy's delusion from the perspective of how it differs from the other remedies. That curiosity kept on going, and things then started unfolding, because when delusion and beyond started to happen, sensation came into picture, kingdom differentiation came into picture, levels of experience then came into picture. So this made it more curious, because there is so much to learn and so much to offer and so much to do in that bargain. This triggering factor, that's what came on, and I got involved into it deeper and deeper, because it was very much close to my body wavelength or mental wavelength, you can say.
I was just, I had recently done some courses on delusions, and I was having a conversation with Dr. Sankran, and he was asking me, what are you teaching these days? So I told him that I'm starting where he left 30 years ago. And he joked, we have a lot to catch up.
And it was a real tough job that time. We would even talk to ourselves within the friend circles. Are we really heading somewhere, or are we going to sink into this thing? We do not know where we are leading to, because what is taught in the college is totally different from what we were actually doing over here. But the trust and faith in him kept us going on.
So when this transition happened after, because he is more like an artist and a scientist who keeps coming up with new ideas every 2 years, how was it for you to cope up with those new ideas? And some of them had a lot of controversy associated with them at different points of time. Was it easy for you to like progress from this one idea to another, to another, to another, and yet another? Because many people I know who started off on the same journey, they actually dropped off or sunk, as you would say.
Correct.
They could not swim.
See, for me, the most important thing was, let's try. And as I said, it was a running clinic, and I was lucky enough to sit down over here. So every day there were cases. So I would just put those understanding into practice and see what happens. It was not that I had to set up a practice. So that advantage probably has given me the insight into carrying on with the newer ideas that he is coming up with. Let's try. What's the big hassle in it? No problem. If not in one case, maybe the other case I could understand what it is like. So that actually helped me in progressing with the newer ideas. It was difficult. Yes, it was not easy, because so many concepts were in the decade times. There were a lot of concepts that came into picture, and application of all of these at the initial beginning. The advantage being that in a running clinic, for me, it was not a big hassle. If probably I would have had to have a setup of a clinic on my own, then probably it would have been still more difficult, because the idea of patient leaving and going, oh, what will I do? Father's name was there, so okay, I could manage the show. Probably if I would have been from a non-medical background and non-setup clinic, maybe it would be definitely very difficult for me. I would also be one of those dropouts, like how others have dropped out,
So, do you remember some of your earlier successes? Like what made you believe, yes, this is the way to go? Some cases were stuck, which were not giving result, and then you applied these new methods, new approach to case taking, and you found better results.
I think you must be knowing that lac equinum case. She was the one who was suffering, deep pathology was there, and a lot of doctors had treated her, and that case was an eye opener for me. That really opened like a floodgate, because the way she went through right up till the experience of the horse and giving every bit of it to the minutest, so much so that in the case multiple times she came up with this idea that this throat is being choked and some sticky fluid substance that is coming out. And it's a pond or a pool of sticky substance and I'm falling into it dead. And this was not something I couldn't understand. But when I went through Google, I got to know that from the horse's hoofs, they prepare glue. And that was amazing. Another case of lac oryctogalis. She had asthma, but her major problem was this poking sensation at the vertex over here. And for that poor thing, she was taking psychiatric treatment for 10 long years. And when the case was taken, and I couldn't understand this aspect of the case, that there is a poking sensation. And then through Google, when I referred to it, the rabbits are harassed by the birds who peck on their head when they are out in the garden. So this was amazing. And within a month, the first call that she gave me, she said, "Doctor, you know what? This particular poking sensation, that is completely gone." So these were some of the amazing results that we can see, which has got no clinical provings or neither in the textbook, and the remedies are not even there in our normal textbooks and all. But the joy that there is something beyond what textbook we are referring, and there is such a vast field of this thing which is unexplored, that kept us going, that kept us motivated. Like, wow, this is something fantastic.
So one difference that I've seen in the level of your case taking and even of Dr. Sanfran's case taking, and with many other relatively younger followers, is that while your cases are very, very well rounded, that we can pick the remedy, at all levels we can see the remedy. But with many youngsters, I see cases where they jump to imagery. This is a cow, this is a sheep, this is a lion. Very, very superficial level. They'll take some gestures, they'll take some verbs and nouns, and then they'll project it, or even a single dream or a delusion, and that's very easily projected. And we often see students failing in that approach because the case is not there at every level. How does one ensure that they don't make this mistake? People who are younger students who are going on this journey, who have just begun this journey, what are the pitfalls in this approach? How a person should take a case so they don't fall into those pitfalls? So what would be your guidance?
See, basically, that's what right now I'm doing and teaching also everywhere. The idea of subject, chapter, para, and line. First, I will try to find out what is the subject of issue for an individual, where it could be multiple characters in the case. Find out first which is the character that is of utmost botheration for that person. That becomes the subject of issue for that person. From there, then the probing goes further and further in order to understand in that subject what's the main issue for that person. That is the chapter. And once you get the chapter, probing into getting the experience in that chapter. What are you going through mentally, physically? What's the experience that you're going through? That becomes the actual chunk of that paragraph. And in that, you will see the characteristic of the remedy, which is the line, what we call it as. So when you go through this, if you don't jump anything of this, you are clearly seeing everything very beautifully. The idea of subject, chapter, para, and line. And another aspect that I'm doing right now is the noun, adjective, and verb. Person comes with the pathology, which is the noun. I have diabetes, I have eczema, I have psoriasis. Then they would describe that green eruptions, red discharge, all these things are the adjectives. Further to that, they will go into describing it as pulling, stitching, drawing, squeezing, tightening. All these are the verbs. And this verb is nothing else but the active principle of the remedy. The alkaloids of the plant, the venom or the milk of the animal, or it is the physical and chemical properties of the mineral. And therefore, that is what we get it in our proving. And since we are reading the latest generation Materia Medica, we don't get all these things. But to get this idea of the noun, adjective, and verb, one has to go through the source books where the entire proving is mentioned in the particular remedy. And therefore, once we go through this particular channel of properly understanding, things are not missed out. We don't go behind the image. What will be very important to understand is this image carrying all the qualities of the verb in it? If not, that means whatever I've chosen is not, what path I've chosen is not correct. I need to take a U-turn, go back again from where the person has started off and go perfectly in understanding what it is.
Yes. So this is a very, very important question that even I want to ask you about your use of noun, adjectives, and verbs. Specifically verbs, because nouns and adjectives are very, very easy to pick. Can you talk a bit more about how to use the verbs and how to channel the case when you are, how to know these are the right verbs that you need to probe further? Because when a patient is speaking, they use multiple words. They can have multitude of verbs coming up, and not every verb takes you to the essence of the case. So how do you know that these are the right verbs that you need to probe?
See, verbs that are coming before the delusional level are the words that has to be marked and kept and not inquired about. Those are the words that are simply giving some sort of information. The W's, what is the problem? Where is the problem? Since when is the problem? Why is the problem? Who is the problem? So that survey of the W's or the initial will also have some of the verbs. Till that time, we just note the verbs and keep it as it is without pondering into it. Once the person we get into the act of delusion, then whatever action words are coming, we start probing those actions. Describe this pulling, describe this stretching, whatever way you can. And then you see from I, me, my, with a gender, he and she, after delusion, this gender goes away. Completely the language is, it is drawing, it is pulling. And grammatically, this it is used for substance. And for us in homeopathy, the substance is the remedy. And therefore, as we say, the soul has got no gender. When the soul departs, it's purely a body. So therefore, the soul brings in the gender as a male or a female. So once that language goes beyond the delusional level, we see the verbs are connected with the word it is pulling, it is dragging, it is squeezing. So now that it is what? It is a substance action, the action word that pertains to the remedy. So when those words start coming in, then we start probing into the deeper qualities of it. There the W's are, what is the type of pulling? Where is the pulling? Since and how is the pulling happening? For example, if pulling is a thing. So those W's gives us the quality of the verb. And the quality of the verb is the quality of action in totality to the plant or an animal or a mineral which specifies that particular substance in nature.
Are there cases, I believe there must be cases where we are not able to take the case from the delusion level to beyond? We all know, we all have cases at different levels. What does one do if they get stuck in the process of case taking? Because it often happens that the patient won't go beyond a certain level.
Correct.
How do you, what techniques do you use to open up the case beyond that?
Now that we have got the wise method, we have got the music method, we have got an abstract doodling method. So these are various different methods that we opt in a given case when they're not going beyond delusion. I tell them, okay, forget everything, no problem whatsoever. Suppose if I gave you this idea that you have got 3 to 4 days absolute holiday, funded holiday, how would you really want to spend that time? Again, from his imagination, he would bring up the idea what, and from there I probe, because that is of his or her interest. Therefore, the idea is, if they are not going beyond delusion, I just keep the entire thing away, no issues. Let's wipe out the entire thing, whatever has been said till now, on a clean sheet of paper. This is the picture. If you have to talk about this, what would you talk about? Whatever you would like to. Again, comes from their imagination. Or We both will meditate on this image that has come up right now, and I put on a music. Whatever spontaneously from inside comes in, just speak. When you finish, then I will also describe what it is. And my turn never comes, because then they speak and they go on with the case ahead. So these are the various techniques: doodling, meditating, or a picture that is there to be described. Or suppose if you have been given 2 to 3 days of vacation time, what would you like to spend like? So these are the different ways how we actually go into. Similarly, I'll tell you one example. 2-3 workshops back, last December in Konkan, I did this painting exercise on a lawn. One of the doctor for 13 years, she was not conceiving. She went through that entire painting exercise, extensively beautiful. And I was for sure, to all the assistants in the clinic, I said, she will conceive for sure. And in 1.5 month time, she called up and said, sir, I have conceived. So the healing power is when you're trying to think about something and then describe it, sometimes people find it difficult. But when you move that thing away and just make them free zone and go and probe into these different tools that we have got, it beautifully goes ahead.
I agree. But we all have cases where the patient would come and say, give me a remedy for what? You try to probe them and then they resist. No, I don't want to talk about anything else. You first give me the medicine for this. For somebody who is practicing on the therapeutic method, very, very easy to treat. For somebody who is practicing on keynote method, easy to treat. You can still find a couple of keynotes. You can find the color of the ward, the location of the ward, the pain and the itching of the ward, and you can still figure out something.
Yeah.
But if you want to go deeper, if you want to ask about other things in their lives, and the patient is stuck at this fact level, what do you do then?
Yes, correct. This is exactly the question many a times, even the seminar people ask, do all cases go into sensation or no? So the answer to this is exactly what I always tell, all do not go. Therefore, I will be very, very frank with this particular question. I will see to it that I have taken location, sensation, modality, concomitant clearly. In case if the person is reluctant to go ahead, no tug of war, prescribe it on that local symptom basis and clear the matter off. Rather than, no, every case has to go to sensation level, doesn't work. Because as and how you are now going to sophisticated life more and more people are compensated state, the more the difficulty in going into sensation. This is my personal experience that I'm seeing. What cases would be at 10, 12 years back, now more people are more compensated state, and therefore to probe is very, very difficult. Therefore, all these, wise method and all these methods are coming up because we are seeing a lot of problems. So therefore, if these are the cases, I would frankly get into the location, sensation, modality, concomitant, local, everything, keynote factor, get the clear, put it in rubrics, find the remedy, give them the medicine.
This is very, very important information that you shared, that seasoned practitioners of sensation method like you use this as one more tool in your arsenal, but you are open to using all methods, all the basic homeopathy, all the different approaches, and at the end of the day, it's the patient who decides what approach they'll need.
Correct. Very true.
Yeah. Good, very good. This is one mistake that I've seen many people doing.
No, that's what even in many of the people ask me in the seminars also, or in the lectures also. Sir, what to do with this type of case? Hair fall is there. They don't have any other problem. No dream, nothing. And then treat them with local this thing. Whatever is there, see that you get complete symptom of that thing, repertorize it and give the remedy. Not every case has to be with sensation. Even in cases with sensation also, people try to find out sensation. And that is the most difficult part, because they fail to realize that there is a function also along with sensation. As per the 9th aphorism, with the sensation and function. And functions are easier for a person to describe because that is what the person wants to do. And sensation is something what the person is not able to do, is their sensitivity. So I wouldn't want to talk about something that I'm not able to do. Neither I've ever explored it. So it is going to be difficult. But if suppose if a child is saying, I don't have the freedom, mother always keeps on telling me study, study. Many of them would land up asking, what's the feeling then? What's the feeling then? I feel sad. I feel bad. And finally, the homeopath is mad because he himself doesn't know. But if one asks, what is freedom for you? There he is tuned to tell you because he has got something in his mind. If I get the freedom, what I want to do. That's the function. Explore it right up till the experience part and then ask what is the opposite of all this. So this becomes a complete package.
True. Let's take this case-taking journey further. You have mentioned the P formula in your book. Can you tell us more about this P formula? Because it seems very, very vital to me. When I read it, it seemed very important.
See, many of them would send their cases, and first of all, initially, they would never write the question, what they have asked. Sir, I'm stuck with this case. How can I tell you or guide you or advise you what is the cause of your being stuck? Because you have not mentioned, you have not written the question that you have asked. Because the answer is secondary to the question that a person is asking. So first thing that comes up is whatever question you are asking should have a solid purpose. The first P, the purpose of asking the question, because many of them will give you this answer. No, I felt like asking, that's why I asked. But you felt like asking, but that is not the person's zone. So there is no purpose for what you are asking the question for whatever you have asked, and therefore the person not going ahead. That is one of the cause of being stuck. So once the purposeful question is there, then you are going to have the probabilities. Those are something which are 1, 2, 3, 4 issues of your life. Maybe family issue, maybe work issue, maybe sibling issue, maybe social issue. So these are the different issues that a person has, or the chief complaint for that matter. When you probe further, when you try to understand what bothers you the most, then it will be only 1 or 2 issue that comes up. Possibly this or possibly that. Then you trace out which one is the most important for you. That is the prospect, a single path to that person's concern. So then you come to the 4th P, the prospect. Once you probe into the prospect, you will notice 9 out of 10 people, body language changes. The pitch, the volume, the pace, the rhythm of talk changes, because now you are probing into the most deepest turmoil of the individual. And therefore, the whole thing changes. That is the time when the physician has to take a pause. Don't immediately keep throwing a question at that point of time, because this is the time when they are now landing up for the first time ever. And you are also going there for the first time ever in that journey of that person's internal turmoil. So the pause is very essential. Then slowly, steadily, you will see that person will fumble in answering. That is the time when you do not have to shift your questions. Okay, if you're not telling this, tell me your fears, tell me your dreams. No, you have to remain persistent over there, because neither he, neither you have gone into that journey from that spot further ever before. So that persistence plays a very, very important role over there. Once you are persistently staying over there, then you start seeing peculiarities. That is that key factor of that substance in nature. So these P's help us to give an idea or a guidance. How am I going to go into the case history? From the purpose to the peculiarity is the entire journey, which if one would follow, you will see this, many of them go through this particular ideas in their story.
This looks like an algorithmic flow chart to me. Like you do one, then this, then this, then this. This makes things easier. If you are able to see things in a very structured way, although the case taking is an art, but if you can see the structure behind it, then it becomes more of a science.
Correct.
The one P that is of very, very big interest to me is the pause. And you have spoken in your book about silence. How important is silence during case taking? And how does one go about being silent without being uncomfortable? Because what happens is that I remember from my earlier practice that the silence is very, very uncomforting after a couple of seconds. You are silent, the patient is silent, you are not speaking anything, you are hoping that the patient will say something, and the patient is just sitting and sitting and sitting. And then something in you prompts you to, okay, now the patient is not saying, let me ask him something. So, two questions, rather a couple of questions: the importance of silence, uh, how to ensure that a person does not become uncomfortable with that silence, and third thing, when do you know that the silence is going to take you further into the case, or you will need to change the track?
See, very important. The idea of silence is that the person is now coming closer towards the vital force. So that is the time when the person will not have an eye-to-eye contact, one. That is the time when the person is going deeper. You can see the expressions because slowly, gently, the gestures start coming in. That is the time when you are seeing some sort of movement that is happening in the person. It's an aura. That is the time when the silent has to be kept on. If you find that you feel restless inside as a physician, then the only act that can be done is to relieve that internal restlessness of the physician, so that you are encouraging only with the sound that the person can now go ahead with whatever the person is, whatever is coming. So the person now is seeing that substance or whatever the thing is at that moment of time. That silence really explores out beautifully. If you find that the silence is not working, a question back which you have asked. So coming back to this again, could you describe this a little bit more? Because the person has lost track probably, or the question must have been forgotten in that mode of time. So you can go back to the previous question, what was asked, and then could you just describe this again for me? So they repeat it. And in that repetition, check whether the same thing is being said or there is a change in it. And that change, pick it up, describe this. So you bypass the silence because of factor that they might have lost track with that silence, and therefore they're not going any further. So that is the best part of doing it. And silence actually, do not extend the silence to such a this thing. It should not be like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of silence is on. No, then that will lose the essence of the entire thing. Silence is for 1 or 2 minutes. In that 1 or 2 minutes also, after a minute, it should be So that encourages the person to go ahead.
Yeah, you brought it. You earlier mentioned that the answers are secondary to the questions. How does one learn to frame the right questions?
As a beginner, one would write the question, see what the person is saying. Does this question make a sense? If not, cancel, rewrite it. Take those few minutes or few seconds. No hurry. Because once you are used to asking the right question with time that passes away, you are generally knowing what to ask. And when you are asking it, it has to have a connection between the person, what the person has said to what you're asking. Otherwise, if that connection is not there, then there cannot be communication and the conversation, to forget it. So in order to have that connect in range, then you have to follow whatever the person has said. I would suggest read that whatever the person has said, what you have typed or what you have written, once at least, and then see what question you have to frame. Once you frame that question, then you can ask, because that will make sense to the person.
Yes. You mentioned about beginners. There are a lot of, we have been speaking about level which is not at the beginner level, but there are a lot of people who are going to listen to your this interview, and probably they'll read your book also after this. What broad guidelines can you give to somebody who is not into sensation method, somebody who has just come out of college or is still into college, a final year internship student taking cases, a PG student taking cases in the college, or somebody who has just opened his clinic, has no not much awareness about the sensation method, or probably they are associated with some other method, probably Dr. Segal's approach, or probably Dr. Vijayakar's approach, or probably they are using more of Dr. Sholton or approach, or some other variation, some other combination, different school of thoughts. Yet we all have some basic structure to take the case, to improve our case taking skills. What would be those broad guidelines for you, from you, to those, all those students who have just started off on this journey, or somebody who's not using the approach that we are using? How can they improve their case taking?
See, my first and foremost answer is, whatever approach one will follow is not an issue at all, because finally it is all about giving results to the patient. So approach doesn't matter much. Important thing is, your case taking, has it been proper? Important factor is, have you explored the chief complaints in a proper manner? Important issue is, have you gone through every aspect of the person's life, like the childhood aspect, the dream aspect, the fears aspect, the hobbies aspect? Have you spent a little time in understanding what am I doing with the patient? The idea is spending that little time. Many of them use the shortcuts. Many of them start getting the remedies first, even on the very one line that the patient speaks. This should be avoided, because these shortcuts are dangerous. I would rather suggest, take the whole case, work on it properly. Most importantly, if you have taken the case, tell the patient, I will work on the case. If I have to be clarifying certain things, I would be calling you up to clarify those particular issues. Many of them feel, if I say that, the patient might not come because he doesn't understand. They will think that. No, because it's an understanding of a human being, and it's a complex structure. So you are not going to understand any person in 1 hour's time. So be very clear. I'll work on this. If there is anything, sir, I would call back, clarify it, and then find the remedy. Right now, immediately, I'll not give you the remedy. That would be better, rather than simply shooting the remedies immediately, not getting results. Then you blame the patient. You have done this, or you have taken that, or you have eaten pickle or something. That doesn't work. Basically, frankly, that doesn't work. Because I remember my father saying, 364 days, son, you tell the patient wait, the patient will wait. 365th day, the patient will ask you, now what? That is the time when you have to answer, and that answer will be difficult for you. So please do not just blame the patient. Blame yourself, because there is something in your own homework that you have missed out to do. So the idea of proper case taking, spending that amount of time, working on the cases. With mobiles now, this thing is there. You can audio record your cases. Listen to them. Is this question correct? What did the patient say? What did I ask? Rectify. Over a period of time, you will definitely, slow growth is a permanent growth.
How does one know that their case taking is complete for this particular patient? The reason I'm asking you is that there was a time when probably I would need 2 hours to unravel a case, to go to the depth of it. Today, after probably like 22 years of clinical experience, sometimes I just need 4 or 5 minutes. I know what the remedy is. I'm 100% sure, even if I give 1 hour more to this case, this will be the remedy. And I see a lot of students in OPD practices where they'll fill the questionnaires and forms for 1 hour, and yet there will be no case in those questionnaires. So how does one decide that, okay, I'm done with this case? I can be 100% sure that I'll find the remedy now, or I have already found the remedy.
The most important aspect is, does the case have the content of needed remedy? In other words, if it's only a chief complaint, does it have the proper location, sensation, modality, concomitant for which the remedy can be prescribed? If it is not there and I'm giving the remedy, itself indicates that there is something missing in it. If the case is a chronic one and you have to take the entire case history, then have I got the mentals? Have I got the physicals? Have I got the generals, everything done? Because all inclusive will be the path for a chronic case. There, all these factors will be important because you will require a constitutional remedy to be given for that person. If it is an acute case, do I have the in the acute case, do I have the location, sensation, everything properly? So the essence of what is needed for the case is important to understand. If it's a constitutional, I have to have the mentals, I have to have the physicals, I have to have the physical generals, physical particulars, everything is needed because that is going to complete the whole case as far as the constitutional remedy is concerned. If it is an acute one, I don't sit down for 1 hour and keep taking the entire case there. I need all the aspects that is needed for an acute prescription called as a complete symptom. In that, if it is not complete and I'm thinking of a remedy, then the remedy should be justified. Why am I giving this remedy? What is the reason for giving this remedy? Does it cover everything that the person is telling? If not, it is not complete. If this is the constitution I'm giving for a chronic case, does it have all the qualities of the person as a whole to give this remedy? If not, something is missing. Then what is it that is missing? And many a times our thoughts overrule everything. I think so, this is the remedy. There I would always suggest challenge your thoughts. If this is the remedy, why? What makes you think about this remedy? Have you asked the person to clarify that what remedy you are thinking is fit for that person? If not, please rub it out, cancel it out, go further. That means you have done no justice to that remedy that you have thought for. So these are the certain tips that would be there, depending upon what type of case you are seeing.
This is very, very helpful. I believe what we have discussed today covers a lot of the basic things and a lot of the problem areas in case taking and how one can improve their case taking skills, irrespective of what school of thought they follow.
Correct.
And this is very, very useful. So I strongly recommend anybody to get your book, Case Taking, The Art of Connection, Communication, and Conversation. It's a very, very useful book. One question that I would like to ask you is, you have taken 30 years to write this book. Why such a long wait and why now? And why this book? You are so good at materia medica and so many different aspects of self.
Basic idea, I knew this question would come up from you. Surely I knew. I was very sure about it. See, the reason behind it is, today the need of the hour is, let us do justice to homeopathy by giving it back something. And what I feel after 3 decades, what is the best thing that you can give back is not what is already there. Give back something that is going to be practically useful for everybody. Therefore, after every chapter, there is one page called Ponder Upon. And the reason for that thing is, if I have to do justice to the science and justice to humanity, case taking is the bridge between both of them. And so therefore, what all questions I have faced, how come your cases reach till sensation? How come your bird starts flying? How come your snake starts creeping? So the best answer is this: how come will be solved only through this book only. So I really took a lot of time to think properly and how to assemble everything in a proper manner, so that Sir's levels of experience, kingdom different, all those chapters also I included into that thing. And then this P formula and the W understanding, which will compile it for the beginners and for the seasoned practitioners also, who feel it difficult at times how to go about with the cases. Where am I missing out? Where am I losing out? And this is our daily bread and butter as a homeopath. Yes. So I thought, let me give this foundation thing, which will help everybody.
And what next?
The W's.
Okay, so
The initial
the book
W's
on W's are coming.
coming up. The
Very
past
good.
tense, present tense, and future tense.
Yes.
Because some people will tell you, I wanted to do that, doctor, and I was not allowed to do. Is the past tense. What you wanted to do, the question should be like that. If only I'll do this in future, I'll be like this. What you want to do in future? So the questioning in relation to the tense that the person is in. So this communication skill in terms of grammar.
Yeah. So that would be a very, very useful book. I believe I'll eagerly wait for it. You spoke about giving something back to the community, to the society. Please tell us something more about your Swara workshops that you do. And because I believe that is also a very, very important part of you giving back to homeopathy. And I believe more people should be aware of it.
See, I started this in 2011 with the idea that there are many students in remote areas who cannot afford to come to cities because of the infrastructure, because of the payment that is there and stay cost and all that thing. Many would wanted to come to the clinic here and this thing. So I always felt that, because your economical background is such a this thing, that how can you sustain coming to Bombay and staying here and learning? So that brought this idea of starting something in a remote area where we are not actually losing money on the infrastructure. That is one idea. Second thing is that I wanted something where we have our tradition maintained, our culture maintained, and yet the teaching also is happening. So first day, the Havan and everything that we do, for all the students, we tie the thread and all to make it a holy place of learning, because people come from different states with different languages and everything. So I thought this is one of the best way how to do it, and the third thing is that since it is a residential workshop, people you'll not believe till 2 o'clock in the night they're solving cases, they're discussing cases, and they tell also, we have not studied this much even in BHMS. Whether this place has the power or what, we do not know. So that gives you the idea that what intention you have to start that thing. And frankly, I don't charge anything. We contribute together for stay and food. And 13,500 is nothing for 7 days, 8 days that we are this thing. So it is economical. Learning happens. Extracurricular activities happen. We have quiz competitions as far as the organon, materia medica, repertory is concerned. We have in the midday, this thing we have got on the 4th day, a scholarship test exam that is happening. We have morning walks, we have morning yoga sometimes. So every day there is a different activity. Plus, we have one small game every day as a refreshing thing in the evening. So it begins in the morning at 5:30 and ends in the night at 10 o'clock. So the whole 7 days, each time there is a different topic, and we do it 4 times in a year: March, May, September, and December. So we have all 4 seasons, and people over there come, discuss. We have cases being put up, video cases in the afternoon. We make groups called as the Kent group, Hanuman group, Fatak group, and all that thing. 70 to 80 participants are there normally every time. So each group has got around 10 participants. Video case is seen, then the group disperse. They sit and discuss about the case. Then in the lawn, we have the table set up where we have this big fight. Each one will tell each group will tell what the group has thought about. Then why this remedy? What is your understanding? 1 minute, the Kent people are saying this. 1 minute, the Hanuman people are saying this. So there is a lot of differential diagnosis happening, multiple remedies, thoughts are happening, discussion on that thing is happening, which enriches us, not only pertaining to that case only, but there are many remedies that are coming into people's mind, and then differentiating it. Why not this? Why this? Why not that? That is the this thing that we are having. So this was the basic idea. And sit down on the floor, everybody together have food, not like buffet system. So the Kerala people in one side, Tamil people on other side. That should not happen. So everybody are on one platform, everybody are together. The idea of being together and learning and growing together.
And are these workshops open for everyone, like
Everyone.
or only for sensation approach?
No, everyone.
somebody who's not into sensation approach,
Yes,
they can also join this.
Everyone. And then we have guided case taking. One of the participants becomes the doctor, one of the participants becomes the patient, and it is live telecasted over there. One person will guide them inside. As far as where they are going wrong, we take a break in between, discuss the whole case. Can you see where the doctor is going, what the patient is telling? So that has really helped everybody to, practical part of the teaching is also happening over there.
I believe this is even more useful than the book. I mean, book is essential. Through book, you can reach millions of people, but this opportunity to actually learn with somebody holding your hands and guiding you properly, and nothing can beat that.
And then we have this teachers training program also happening simultaneously, so that the next teachers that are going to come up over there, so they will also be taking up the topics and all that thing. So it's like, looking for a place over there which is of 10 to 12 acres, self-farming. Entire gurukul will be set up over there so that you come learn and get the training over there also.
Great. My best wishes to you for this
Thanks
new venture of yours. It has been absolute pleasure having this conversation with you, Dr. Shekhar. Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time, and all the best wishes for your new book and all the new books and new courses and teachers training programs and Sora workshop that you do. You are an amazing person and doing amazing work for homeopathy. Thank you so much for being yourself.
Thanks a million. God bless.